Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a great country and a great opportunity that this country is facing right now. But before I dive in to talk about what I'm here to address, I'd just like to ask a quick question here. How many of you are familiar with blockchain, crypto, and have used it? Just raise your hands. Okay, and how many of you have used it from before, like 2017 and before? Okay, so there are a few familiar members here. I'm just going to keep this much more simpler. What is the biggest opportunity that the Web3 and blockchain space is facing right now? The best way to think about this is to look at the landscape of what happened when the Web2 world came into existence. People were all using papers and traditional way of doing offline businesses, and the internet era came about to disrupt it. And the pattern that followed back then and the pattern that we have right now are quite similar. The first biggest opportunity is when a business tries to use this emerging technology to set a difference to how they represent themselves. Businesses moving to blockchain or businesses using the power of blockchain to win over their competition, to segregate themselves, to make them stand apart. And that is a very visible and easy opportunity for standard and traditional businesses. Why? People like new things. People like things that are different from what they see elsewhere. They like something that is cutting edge. They may or may not use it, they may or may not understand it, but they like to feel that they're part of an emerging trend. If it's the same product that they're using all along and there are hundreds of competition there, and then you come along with your business with this new integration, people tend to like it. And if there's a problem that your business solves in that process, if you're solving something that your other competitors don't, using this technology, then that makes you much better. But what is that problem or solution that the blockchain industry solves? While that's a very big list, I'm just going to give you few fundamental areas. It helps you with transparency. It helps you with accountability with your users or customers or audience. It can help you work across the world in a quick and efficient manner. Yes, there are legal challenges with it that are being resolved by the day right now. And there are regulatory risks and terms that's evolving in many countries. But the technology has already made it possible for you to work from around the world in a seamless fashion, which has never been possible before. Taking a step from there, what is the next opportunity here? If you look at the Web2 world, people did not move their core businesses online. They didn't start with that. They didn't start with an e-commerce. But they started off with moving certain non-core or non-critical functions of their business to the blockchain. And why? It's a good test. It's a good way to see if that's something that works for you. It's a good way to see if your customers like it. It's like dipping your toe into the future and seeing if that's something that your business, yourself, and the people around you can accept. And that's the same thing in the blockchain space. Like a SaaS in the Web2, you have BaaS, blockchain as a service. Businesses creating certain part of a flow of their workflow, like a supply chain management, or their accounting on-chain, or their reward points on-chain. It could be one specific part, a part that does not kill your business if something goes wrong, a part that is not the most core that could disrupt that your customers are unhappy, something that is small, not so significant, but that helps you discover a new path. And these blockchain as a service is a great opportunity for businesses who understand and have vertical expertise in a segment. And if they can create this solutions, it can be a huge revenue generator, as we already see in the blockchain space. The biggest revenue generating companies are those that are providing a service. It's just like they say, when people are looking for gold, show them the shovel. And that's exactly what blockchain as a service stands for. The third most important opportunity, this is the one that I am personally passionate about. And this opportunity is so much different from everything else I mentioned before. This opportunity is bigger than everything else I mentioned before. Asset tokenization. Imagine everything that you see around the world, all your assets, properties, things that you buy, things that you come across. What if all those assets are available in terms of crypto tokens? That's something that you could buy, store, work with from your mobile. One of the best things that crypto brings about is the ability to buy something in small tranches, something as small as 50 cents, $1, $5. Because you don't have a SWIFT transaction fees of $20, $40 for you to buy something, you don't have a huge 3, 4, 5% transaction fees like in Visa and MasterCards. You can allow someone to buy a fraction of something. How powerful is this idea? You want to buy a home, but you don't want to spend $50,000 or $100,000 to buy a home. You want to spend $100 to buy a home, a small part of the home. You're going to own a tiny part of the home to enjoy the appreciation of that property, to enjoy a rental income from that small part that you own. What if you can buy a helicopter or a ship? As an individual, can you access all these asset classes right now? You cannot. But if blockchain is making that happen, imagine trillions of dollars of assets around the world that will move on chain, allowing people, not from a country, not from a continent, 7, 8 billion people around the world, if they have access to internet, they can own something across borders, across territories. Languages don't matter. You could be part of something that you want to be part of. There is no barriers. The barriers to entry is gone. And that's powerful. And this is projected to be a $16 trillion industry in the upcoming years. And that's massive. But this is just one part of it. What happens when the space of derivatives are moving on chain? That's much, much, much bigger. And governments around the world, every business entities like MasterCard or banks, they are exploring blockchain. Why? Because they realize it can save them the cost, it can save them a lot of challenges that they're facing right now and make their life so much more easier. There is a risk for them because that can also hurt their business, but they also understand it is impossible to ignore this. It is impossible to ignore a revolutionary solution to most of the problems that's existing in the world at this point in time. As I address this, there is also a challenge. This is what I like to call as a black hole for enterprises that enter the Web3 space. And this black hole could kill them. This black hole could destroy their progress towards blockchain or themselves. It's not a technological one. When we talk blockchain, we think technology. Okay, we have this ledgers, distributed ledger, nodes, all of that. But technology is secondary. Any revolution in mankind has always happened because of a philosophical need, a need that is beyond technology. Technology catches up to it. So what is the philosophy of blockchain and why does it matter? It is a mindset of decentralizing something. It's a mindset of distributing wealth. It's a mindset allowing an individual to own something which they have never owned. Owning data, owning their own representation, their own image, their everything. Whatever they are creating, whatever they are part of, at this point, someone is a custodian of it. What if they can own it for themselves? And that is a powerful concept. But if you go a step deeper, an enterprise coming to the world of blockchain, if they try to bring what they have been doing there on to the world of this blockchain industry, it's going to be very hard for them. This industry works with people first principle. It's a community first. It starts with the community. It starts with how can you make this as an inclusive solution where you bring your customers, people that you're selling or creating something to, and make them part of the process. How can you bring them experientially? How can you provide them an experience and a sense of belongingness? Does a corporate always think about this? If a business tries to get to the world of blockchain and all that they're doing is to bring a distributed ledger, upload their data on there, bring it on chain, that's nothing more than a database. And that is not what blockchain or this whole Web3 is meant for. Just think about the good example. There's a taxi company running their own taxi business. And they found that now people are using mobile app. So they just brought their taxi booking on mobile app. Sure, that works. That's like the first option I gave you. The first opportunity, businesses using and leveraging technology. Sure, now you would probably have something running on the blockchain. That's great. But then Uber comes along. And it changes what it means to be a taxi company. What it means to ride. Like you have the Gojek, Grab, all these different applications. They don't own the cars. They don't own the basis, the fundamental asset that is involved in the business. Like Airbnb that changed the industry of hotels. They don't own it. They leverage the technology. They understood the technology deep enough to find what is that one thing that the world is looking for. What is that one thing I can do right now that can make the most impact, not in the same way that every other business tried, not in the same default way of taking this one step from where I am to this world of tech, but changing it fundamentally, changing it philosophically. And that made all the difference. That is why the taxi company still makes $1 million in revenue, whereas Uber becomes a unicorn or Airbnb becomes a unicorn. It is to take that one deep breath, understand what a new step of revolution offers, and using it for what it truly is meant for. So coming to the world of blockchain, can this enterprise that's entering this industry use the power of community? Can they bring every individual that they're working with, that they connect with, can they make them part of the process? Can they make them feel that they're contributing to this greater cause? And can they remove all these middlemen, and can they even remove themselves as a middleman so that they create something that lives beyond themselves, lives beyond their own limitations? In a regulatory landscape, yes, you do have challenges. You do want to be that controlling power to make that regulation part of it work, but there's always a middle ground. And that's where the difference is made. If this philosophy is not understood, it's going to be very, very hard for the new corporates to make their way through this change. And some other new startup is going to come and take their place in the next 5 to 10 years. What is this one simple thing that business owners who are starting up, who are just having this idea to create something have that enterprises don't? The first principles approach. And that's exactly what I would recommend for any enterprise, to not fall into this trap. You could be having billions of dollars with you. You could be a very big company with thousands of employees. But think about your blockchain journey as a startup. Think about it as a startup of 3 people, 5 people, 10 people in your company that you create, separate, who would find solutions that improvise your own business. And if you start from there, the journey is going to be bright. If you start from first principles, the journey is going to be challenging, but interesting. It's going to be fun, because that's one thing that the Web3 and blockchain space never fails to provide. There's always excitement, fun, and thrill to it, because it's fast changing. You cannot create a business plan 6 months before because the industry changes every week. So right now you have the opportunities before you, you have the risks before you, and the ways to mitigate that. So sit, figure out what it is that you want to do and how, and get going with it in the world of Web3. And there's a couple more minutes, and I just want to give you a quick intro of myself. I want to actually tell you what this industry offers before talking about who I am and what I do. I run an accelerator in Dubai for Web3 blockchain companies, and we invest in them. I've been in the space for 10 years. I've seen it since 2013 grow, change, and be where it is at this point. We have seen all the trends. And what I shared with you today is a consolidation of all these different trends. The trends can change, but the patterns that remain will always continue being there. You can always find me by the name Karnika Yashwant in LinkedIn, anywhere else. If you guys have any doubts or questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to help. Thank you so much.